City Learners TV, learning made simple. Welcome back to the City Learners class with me, Samuel Adegoke. In this class today, we are going to be learning about the laws of indices. Indices is the same thing as exponent, and it also means power of a given number. So what is indices? Indices tell us the number of times a number is multiplied by itself. Indices tell us the number of times a number is multiplied by itself. Let's take, for example, 2 can be multiplied by itself in 3 places. 2 can be multiplied by itself in 3 places. This kind of form or this kind of statement is an expanded multiplication. This expanded multiplication can be written in index form. Index is the singular form of indices. We have the index as the singular and indices as plural. So 2 multiplied by itself 3 times can be written in index form. And how do I do that? The given number is 2. How many times have we multiplied it by itself? We have done that 3 times. 1, 2, 3. So you write the 3 as the power of 2. You write the 3 as the power of 2. So this is an expanded multiplication, while this is the index form. Okay, and please take note, the number of times in which 2 has been multiplied by itself, which is 3 in this case. This 3 over here is what we call the power. At the same time, we can call it the index. And at the same time, we can call it the exponent. Exponent. This simply means the number of times a given number has been multiplied by itself. So in this case, 2 has been multiplied by itself 3 times. And the 2 being the given number, written this way, is simply called the base. The base. And please take note of this. I didn't write mine this way and call it 2 having the power of 3. No. If you write this number this way, you have simply written 23. This is 23. Why this is pronounced as 2 raised to the power of 3, or 2 having 3 as index or as exponent. But the most common way this is pronounced is simply 2 raised to the power of 3. It's not written as 23. Please take note of that. So, indices tells us the number of times a number is multiplied by itself. Now, in solving mathematics that are related to indices, there are laws that we must follow. There are rules that must be followed so that the solving of such mathematics will be very simple and straightforward. These laws are just 8 in number. The laws of indices are 8 in number. And in this class, I will treat just 4 of them first with worked examples. Subsequently, we are going to treat the remaining 4. So let's start learning about the laws. The first law, which is called the product law, states that when you are multiplying 2 powers together and the 2 powers have the same base, in this case, we have m and n as the power of these 2 given bases. This is what I'm saying. We have a raised to the power of m. That is, m is the power of a here. And we have a raised to power of n. That is, n is the power of a in this case. So the law says, if you are multiplying 2 powers or even more powers, and it happens that their bases are common, they have the same basis, what you need to do is to pick just one of the bases and then add the power. You can see you pick one of the bases because they are common, but instead of multiplying the power, you simply add them. We pick one of the a's, which you can see here, and the powers are added. Look at the example of the law. Solve 2 raised to power 2 multiplied by 2 raised to power 3. What do you have to do? You can see that we are multiplying 2 powers together, having the same base. What we do is simply pick one of the bases, which is 2. And instead of multiplying their power, add the powers together. And that will give you 2 having the power of 2 plus 5 will give us 7. 2 having the power of 7. And that's our answer. As you can see, you have 2 common bases and you are multiplying their power. The law says that instead of multiplying their power, add the powers together. And that is what we have just done in our first worked examples. The law 2 is called the quotient law. The quotient law states that if you are dividing 2 powers by each other, what you need to do, as long as their bases are common, just as we did here, as long as their bases are common, pick one of the bases and then instead of dividing the powers, subtract it. Please take note of this. In the product law, we change the multiplication into addition. And then in the quotient law, we change the division into subtraction. And here is the works example. You are asked to simply solve 2 raised to power 4 divided by 2 raised to power 2. You have this kind of mathematics to solve. Apply quotient law. The quotient law says that as long as the 2 bases are equal, pick one of them and instead of dividing their power, simply subtract the powers. So in this case, we pick one of the 2 which are bases and then the powers that are 4 and 2, we simply subtract them. So we have 4 minus 2, that is 2 taken away from 4. You have 2, which is our answer. So that is that about the quotient law. And then the third law is called the power of power. It's called the power of power. And what does it mean? It simply means that if a number is having a power of n, for instance, and it's having parentheses, having another power outside. That is why we call it power of power. What you simply do is to write the base, the number given down, and then multiply the power inside the bracket and the power outside the bracket together. So you can go ahead and solve your mathematics. So here is the work example. You are given this to solve. For instance, you have 2, of course, open bracket 2, having the power of 2, and just as you close the bracket, you have another power of 2. Write the 2 being the given number in the bracket down, and the power in the bracket and the power outside the bracket should be multiplied. 2 multiplied by 2. And that will simply give me 2 having the power of 4. My answer written. Okay, I move to the fourth law. The fourth law is called the power of products. The power of product. This simply states that if you are given 2 numbers and the 2 numbers are in parentheses, in bracket, and the 2 numbers have a power of n, as in this case outside, it simply means A has power of n and also B has the power of n. So A and B have right to this power. So that is why you see us separated it in this way. A having the power of n and B having the power of n. And this is the worked example. Solve, in bracket you have 2x raised to power 2. How do you solve this kind of mathematics? Applying the law of power of products, what you need to simply understand is that the 2 factors in the bracket have 2 as their power. So we're going to split that. So we can say that 2x raised to 2x in bracket raised to power 2 equals to 2 raised to power 2 and x raised to power 2, separating the factors because each of them have the right to own the power 2, and that will give us 2 raised to power 2 will give us 2 multiplied 2 times. Please don't forget that 2 raised to power 2 means that 2 is multiplied by itself 2 times. And that, don't forget, and then we bring the x down as well, raised to power 2. So 2 multiplied by 2 gives us 4. And then we bring x raised to power 2. So you can see that 2x in bracket having the power of 2 simply means 4 raised to power x. Thank you very much for paying attention. I'd like you to subscribe, click on the notification bell, share, comment, and refer this channel to other learners so that they can also improve on their studies. Bye.